one of the most cherished moments of Indian military, which was the win over Pakistan during the 1999 Kargil War. This July 26th, India will once again observe Kargil Vijay Divas. This is the 23rd anniversary of our victory over Pakistan during the Kargil War. Kargil is a small town which lies along the NH1, which connects Srinagar and Leh. This town in 1999 became the center of attraction for the entire world because two nuclear armed nations went on a full fledged offensive against each other. Today, as part of our series to remember and to acknowledge the events that happen in the defense field, so let us discuss first the background and the causes for this war. As you are aware, right since its inception after the partition in 1947, Pakistan has harbored a grouse and a grand illusion that one day it would again re establish Islamic rule over India and make India an Islamic state. It has never accepted the partition and its status as a minor partner post the partition. The society has evolved into a fundamentalist Islamic theoretic state after 70 years or 75 years of brainwashing the population through their media, through their education, and through their sermons. A particular thorn in Pakistan's vision was accession of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, a Muslim majority state, by Maharaja Hari Singh to the Union of India. Pakistan was vehemently opposed to it and it sought to annex the state of Jammu and Kashmir through military means three times prior to 1999. One was in 1948, the second was through Operation Gibraltar in 1965, and third one was the infamous 1971 war. The fourth instance happened in 1999 in what is popularly known as Kargil War. So Kashmir remains an unfulfilled dream for the Pakistanis. Even though they stand defeated in all the wars till now, they have managed to occupy one third of the erstwhile state of Jammu and Kashmir, what is popularly known as Pak occupied Kashmir, due to the follies and failures on the part of Indian diplomacy. This is reason number one. In fact, in 1971, the Indian victory was so total that it led to the dismemberment of Pakistan into Pakistan and Bangladesh. That is, East Pakistan came out as a separate entity called Bangladesh. India captured 93,000 Pakistani prisoners of war or POWs. In spite of having such a commanding presence and such a outstanding, astounding victory, Indian diplomacy was not able to press home the advantage and close the Kashmir chapter once and for all. Again, India was stung by the Prithviraj syndrome and was generous rather than be merciless in front of an enemy who seeks to destroy you. The result is the Kashmir problem plagues us till date. This is reason number one. Reason number two was in 1998, May 11th, the Indian government under the then Prime Minister Vajpayee conducted nuclear tests and heralded the entry of India into Nuclear Weapon Countries Club. We detonated 5 nuclear devices in Pokhran, Rajasthan, and demonstrated our will and our determination to join the allied nations and be a responsible nuclear power. Pakistan followed this up with its own nuclear tests exactly 17 days later on May 28th, conducted in Balochistan. So, for the entire world, both these neighbors were now nuclear armed neighbors. Pakistan Army, in its doctrine and in its understanding of a post nuclear conflict, came to the conclusion that under a nuclear umbrella, the world would not keep quiet if both India and Pakistan were to come into an armed conflict. In their estimation, if they were to attack first and gain control over J&K or parts of it, the world would come and appeal for peace and restrain India from deploying its entire might, thereby giving Pakistan some ground which they have captured during the initial strike. This doctrine or this analysis from the Pakistan staff for a post-nuclear conflict dictated their planning of the Kargil war. This was reason number 2. Reason number 3 was Operation Meghdoot. Operation Meghdoot was an audacious operation carried out by the Indian Army to capture Siachen Glacier on April 13, 1984. This was to correct a folly or a foolie that Indian diplomats did in the Shimla Agreement of 1972. The Shimla Agreement of 1972 validated the international border till NJ 9842. Beyond NJ 9842, the boundary was not demarcated clearly. Pakistan opinionated that the boundary ran straight from NJ 9842 to the Karakoram range. India, on its part, opinionated that the boundary ran along the Solotoro range from NJ 9842. This became a point of contention. Indian intelligence got to know that Pakistan was attempting to snatch Siachen Glacier in the month of April after getting reports of Pakistan Army buying Arctic clothing from UK. In an attempt to preempt this, Indian Army conducted Operation Meghdoot on 13th April and captured the Siachen Heights. Pakistan made numerous attempts to wrest the control back but failed in all its attempts. The control of Siachen Glacier by India is a thorn in Pakistani army flesh which hasn't gone away. They wanted to bring India to the negotiating table and force India to withdraw troops from the Siachen Glacier through their attack on NH-1A in the Kargil war. This was reason number 3. What were the aims of Pakistan in conducting this war? The first aim was to interdict National Highway 1, which connects Srinagar to Leh and is the sole road or logistics path to the troops in the north of the Zojila Pass. So by interdicting this, all logistics through the road or through the land would be stopped and Indian troops would be at the mercy of the weather or aerial transport or aerial drops. Pakistan's second aim was to internationalize Kashmir and force India to come to the negotiating table. Aim number 3 was to wrest Siachen Glacier or at least push Indian troops away from Siachen Glacier, ask for a withdrawal of Indian troops from Siachen Glacier. Fourth was to retaliate and take back the psychological edge from India which had been dented post-Operation Meghdoot. These were the aims that Pakistan had while starting the Kargil war. Now that we have gone through the background and the causes, let us look at the battle. On May 3rd, 1999, exactly about three and a half months post Atal Bihari Vajpayee's visit to Pakistan in the first ever bus trip to Pakistan, local shepherds informed the Indian Army that there were some movements, militant movements on top of the Mashko Valley and other parts along the Kargil Heights. Indian Army, taking this input seriously, started launching patrols in this area and conducted heli-borne recce or helicopter-borne recces also in this area. On May 10th, a patrol led by Captain Saurabh Kalia along with his 5 men were attacked. They fought valiantly till their ammunition was over and they were captured by the Pakistani army. For 22 days, under the custody of the Pakistani army, these 6 brave sons of India were tortured, their eyes poked out, their ears pierced, their private parts cut, other untold third-degree tortures done on all 6 of them, and their bodies were returned to India on June 9th. Father of Captain Saurabh Kalia is still fighting for justice in the Indian courts. If Saurabh Kalia were to be alive, he would have turned 46 years by this year. After these hits and after these losses, Indian Army was able to establish that this was no ordinary infiltration, but a full-fledged offensive along the Kargil Heights by Pakistani Army. Indian Army was taken by surprise. This is because both the armies, in order to, during the winter months, because of the inclement weather, used to withdraw from the high posts and reoccupy it during the summer posts. Pakistani army, taking advantage and knowing this very well, occupied about 130 posts in the months of February, March, and April of 1999. The Pakistani army consisted of their Northern Light Infantry and the Special Forces SSG commandos dressed in civilian clothes, masquerading as Kashmiri Mujahideen. They were well armed, well trained, and acclimatized in mountain warfare. They occupied heights of 14,000 feet to 18,000 feet. There was sparse vegetation in the Kargil hills, hardly any shelter, and any defender coming up was a turkey shoot for the defender. In climates where the temperature went to -20, -30, and the slopes were 80-degree, 70-degree, in some cases even 90-degree, the defender, Indian Army, indeed had an impossible task at hand. Indian Army quickly realized the Pakistani aim was to interdict NH1, and for this they needed to clear Pakistani army intrusion into places which were closest to NH1. The main point that Indian Army selected for clearings first was Tololing Peak. On 18th of May, the task of capturing Tololing Peak was given to 18 grenadiers. The 18 grenadiers went up the hill in conditions of -20, -18 degrees centigrade, an arduous climb in the din of the night, and fought bravely against overwhelming odds. After suffering casualties, they had to retreat. Indian Army realized that without adequate artillery support, the offensive will not make headway. On the intervening night of June 12th and 13th, two Raj rifles was given the task of occupying or claiming Tololing Peak. This time, Indian Army ensured adequate artillery support in the form of 100 plus artillery guns. More than 10,000 artillery shells pounded Tololing Peak, and then Raj Rif mounted its attack. After a fight which lasted more than 12 hours, the peak Indian flag was once again unfurled on the Tololing Peak. India had its first victory in the Kargil War. It was no doubt a turning point in this 74-day war. Post Tololing Peak, the remaining peaks in this area, in this Dras area, were quickly taken over in the remaining 6 days by the Indian Army. These posts were .4590, Rocky Knob, Hump, and .5140. Three Indian regiments, 6 Grenadiers and the Nagas, engaged elements of the Pakistani Northern Light Infantry in the Battle of Tiger Hill. This battle became one of the most keenly watched battles in the Indian television industry and bought many a journalist his career and name. This peak was captured by Indian forces after 12 hours of fighting on 4th July 1999. The victory in Tololing and Tiger Hill was followed by victories on the Batalik Tuttuk subsector, which provides access to the Siachen Glacier. Some of the peaks that were of vital strategic importance were .4590 and .5353. The recapture of .4590 by Indian troops on 14th June was significant, notwithstanding the fact that Indian troops suffered the highest casualties that day. In many of these vital heights, neither artillery nor air power could dislodge the Pakistani defenders. It required the sheer guts and determination of the Indian soldier, led by junior captains, lieutenants, and majors, who had to withstand a hail of bullets and mortar fire, inclement weather, and sheer grit to overcome Pakistani defenders. The story of Vikram Batra, Anuj Nair, and many more, Vijayant Thapar, will continue to inspire Indians. Many a unit received citations. If you look at that, the first three names are for the para SF forces, special forces. Obviously, their theatre of operations is Kargil, but the fight in which they engaged is not disclosed. The other units, the fight in which they received the citation has been disclosed. This operation of the Indian Army to dislodge Pakistani intruders from Kargil heights was called Operation Vijay, and 26 July every year is celebrated as Vijay Divas in honor of our victory against Pakistan in the Kargil war. But Indian Army was not alone in dislodging Pakistani invaders. Indian Air Force contributed significantly in dislodging the Pakistani invaders. As soon as news reached Indian Air Force headquarters that such an infiltration had taken place, Indian Air Force used MiG-25 and Canberra P-57 to conduct reconnaissance and electronic intelligence missions across the Kargil heights. The intelligence gathered gave us a glimpse of the nature of infiltration and the strength of the enemy. Indian Air Force was given the green signal by the Government of India and tasked for operations on May 25th. On May 26th, 6 aircraft, two each of MiG-21, MiG-27 and MiG-23, attacked positions in the Kargil sector using 57 rockets. This was the first time post 1971 war that Indian Air Force deployed ordnance in Kashmir. The targets were ammunition dumps, supply routes, and fuel dumps and infiltrator camps. The second day was a sad day for the Indian Air Force because we lost two aircrafts. The first was a MiG-27 piloted by Flight Lieutenant Nachiketa, which suffered engine trouble post dislodging its 80 ammunition on the intruders. Nachiketa ejected safely but was apprehended by the Pakistani intruders and had to become a POW. He was released by the Pakistani government after some time. When Nachiketa's aircraft went down, squadron leader Ajay Ahuja went low in order to help rescue and pinpoint the location of Flight Lieutenant Nachiketa. When he went low, his aircraft MiG-21 was hit by a shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile and the aircraft was brought down. He also ejected safely, but he was brutally killed by the Pakistani intruders. Along with this, a MiG-17 was also hit by a shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile on the third day of operations. Indian Air Force realized the gravity of the situation and the danger posed by shoulder-fired air-to-air missiles held by these intruders in heights ranging from 14,000 to 18,000 feet. Indian Air Force quickly altered its game plan and started flying above the range of shoulder-fired surface-to-air missiles. As they flew higher and bombed the intruder camps from MiG-21, MiG-23 and MiG-27, because of poor visibility in those areas, there was accuracy issues which was reported after battle damage assessment missions. In order to overcome this, Indian Air Force brought in the Mirage 2000H aircraft, which were based out of Gwalior under Central Air Command with their laser guided bombs in order to sort out the issue of inaccuracies in the field. Mirage 2000H, armed with these laser pods and lightning pods, improved the accuracy, and IAF hit the main logistical and administrative base of the intruders, called as main admin and logistical base at Manthodalo in Batalik sector. It is estimated that more than 300 intruders were killed by this single strike from Mirage 2000H aircraft. Post this, many a supply dump, ammunition dump, and intruder camps were hit using precision guided bombs. This effort of Indian Air Force using the precision guided bombs helped Indian Army by lowering their casualty count and also led to severe demoralization among the Pakistani army intruders. This operation by Indian Air Force was called Operation Safed Sagar. To understand the challenges of this air war, one must understand that this was the first war wherein air campaigns was launched against such small camps at such heights. Visibility was very low, the troop concentration levels were scattered and very low, and employment of air force and adaptability of air force in such a unique atmosphere tested the professionalism of Indian Air Force, and Indian Air Force did come out trumps in this war. Engage the Pakistani intruders, Indian Navy was not to be left behind. Indian Navy, through Operation Thalwar, effectively blockaded the Pakistani west coast and ensured that the Pakistani Navy did not play a part in this conflict. They also put the entire trade of Pakistan, especially its energy trade, into a risky mode by patrolling aggressively across the Pakistani western seas. According to a book released by a former Pakistani president, Pakistan, due to this blockade, had just 6 days of oil reserves in case full-fledged war were to break out. The contribution from Indian Navy should not be neglected or should be understood in this light. The war came to an end on July 26th, both from a military perspective because of pressure from the international forum, especially the United States. United States made it clear to Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif when he visited US, Pakistani troops had to withdraw to its original line from the incursion, and this, along with the Indian troops' victories in the 74-day war, resulted in success for India. Kargil war success came at a huge price to us. According to official estimates, we have lost 527 personnel in this war. If we are vigilant and we understand the psyche of the enemy, we will not make such costly mistakes again. Along with all of you Samvada viewers, I bow my head to those brave warriors and sons of India. Jai Hind, Namaste.